Welcome back to another episode of Rock Boys Football. Mario Cristobal, the Miami Hurricanes starting to fill it up in the 2025 class. When you talk about the last 14 days for Miami on the recruiting trail, not many programs hotter on the recruiting trail than the Miami Hurricanes, landing another commitment on July 4th, coming from four-star safety Hilton Drake Stubbs from Jacksonville, Florida. The USC fans know this is one of my favorite, if not my favorite safety in this 2025 cycle. This is a premier ball hawking safety that has some of the best instincts that you see in the 2025 class, but combines those instincts with elite ball skills, a very solid frame, and an athlete that can jungle high safety, but also excels in the too high look. I think the feel for this safety spot, his ability, what makes Drake Stubbs extremely special. And you talk about a guy that can consistently create those game-changing, those game-winning plays, something that Miami's been looking for. I think Drake's just want to say thank you to you guys and want to wish you all a happy July 4th. I can't thank you guys, and consider subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you guys. And without further ado, let's get into Hilton Drake Stubbs, and I want to just start with it. I think the production speaks for itself, and we're going to spend a lot of time on this film because I do think it's one of the more impressive film studies that you're going to see in the 2025 cycle. A guy that can come up into the box. He can be a force in the run support game. He can be a guy that can hold up in man hands on a lot of footballs. You dive into the film, and the film kind of just speaks for itself. I think first, the two things that kind of stand out. One, the range. He's going to be playing this too high safety look right here where you look at him make it from the hash to the boundary. I mean, we're reading these quarterback size right when he's dropping back. We have big time for Drake Stubbs, high points it. I mean, 6'1", 190 frame. He's put on some good weight. Love this play again. Single high safety look here. Reading the quarterback size. You're going to see him start to break on this football before the quarterback's even throwing it. Quarterback doesn't even see him. Look how much ground he's covering. Again, breaking on this football. And then going out making a play, catches everything that hits his hands. The feel in the back end for a guy like Drake Stubbs, it's kind of some next level stuff. Once again, playing that single high look, has a ton of range. I mean, you talk about a guy that can just make it really from sideline to sideline, hash to sideline. He has the range to play this single high safety look pretty routinely. But again, the feel, the ball skills, the ability to go up high point and make a play on the football. The film speaks for itself. This is a guy that's just a difference maker. And then when you continue to watch the film, the ball right here, you might say it's luck, but he just continues to have the football wind up in his hands. Like at a certain point, you just say, this is a guy that just knows how to get the football in his hands. I think the second thing is physical safety. I mean, you see him coming downhill, closing the distance, being physical at the point of attack. We talk about him being a guy that primarily is that single high, that too high safety. He can come in and be physical in the run game as well. You continue to look in the film, box safety look right here, coverage, and he's going to hold up. And he's a guy that is fluid hips. I mean, we're going to stay in the hip back pocket. We're going to break out too high safety look, but can play some man coverage, can come up and be physical at the point of being class in the country, starting to cook in the state of Florida with guys like Gavin Nix and Drake Stubbs committing. It's going to be a fun next couple of weeks for Miami. We always talk about it. Miami might not have Mario Cristobal puts together. It's a lot, and it pays off late in the process. I think secondly, you take a look at the secondary class for Miami. Amari Wallace coming from Miami Central. Chris Ewell coming from Hollywood, Shamadan Madonna. You scroll down and say Timothy Merritt coming from Birmingham, Alabama. We kind of broke down his film a couple of weeks ago, 6'2", 180. There's a lot to like there. You look at the secondary class for Miami and say, we're starting to check a lot of boxes. Timothy Merritt, just a big physical cornerback that can put hands on you. I think he could play safety too. You look at Chris Ewald and say, probably one of the most polished cornerbacks that you see in the 2025 class. Now you add a ball hawking safety in Drake Stubbs. A lot to be excited for. We'll cut it there. Hopefully you guys have a phenomenal 4th of July. Appreciate you guys rocking with the boys. If y'all do enjoy the content, consider subscribing to the channel, and we'll talk to y'all later. Peace.